Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, dear students? I hope you all are doing well and enjoying your health and studies. Dear students, as you know that this is Pakistan International School TATE's virtual learning system. And in this system, today we are in our biology class for grade 8th, which is now 9th junior. Dear students, we have started from the previous chapter. Uh, we have started from the previous lecture, the chapter number 4, that is about cells and tissues. And in cells and tissues, we have studied before about the microscope, emergence of cell theory. Then we have seen in the previous lecture about some cell structures. Those cell structures are not included in cell organelles. Those cell structures are very, very important indeed because they provide support, form, structure, rigidness, as well as a shape and perform some other functions to the cell. Today, we are going to talk about some cell organelles. Except cell wall, cell membrane, cytoplasm, and cytoskeleton. Some smaller and very minute organs of the cells are present in the cell. Those organs and organelles, because they are very, very small, that's why they are called cell organelles. There are lots of cell organelles, but today we will focus on three main cell organelles. Those are called nucleus, ribosomes, and mitochondria. So let's get started. Cell organelles, this is a plant cell. If we see the plant cell, so there are lots of cell organelles which are present in the plant cell. The outer is called cell wall, which is included in cell structure. It gives the shape and rigidness. Then we are having a large central vacuole. We'll talk about in next few lectures. Cytosol, that is called the cytoplasm. Then we are having cytoskeleton. We have studied about the cytoskeleton before in the previous lecture. Chloroplast, this is the site of protein synthesis. This is also one more cell organelle that is called mitochondria that do respiration. There is smooth endoplasmic reticulum. They do lipid synthesis. There are small vesicles which transport proteins and other materials. These are Golgi complexes and they are the processes of um endoplasmic reticulum. Then we are having rough endoplasmic reticulum. We are having small dot-like structure. Those are called ribosomes, which are present in both type of cells. And then we are having nucleus that is very, very important and called the brain of the cell, and nucleolus. They synthesize ribosomes. So that is the summary of all the cell organelles which we'll talk about in this lecture and in the next few lectures in detail. Okay, so let's talk about the first and foremost very, very important and brain of the cell, that is called nucleus. Nucleus means the center. In animal cell, okay, if we just talk about its location, so that is present in eukaryotic cells. We have studied about eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells in the chapter number 1, and we'll talk about in the next few lectures also. Um, uh, but there is one very important difference on which the names of these cells are based on, that is eukaryotic and prokaryotic. Eu means true, karyotic means nucleus. Like the cells which are having true nucleus, it means true nucleus means that is the proper cell organelle which is bounded by a nuclear membrane, proper nuclear membrane, and inside that the genetic material is present. And prokaryotic cells we have seen before, like bacteria, like they are having like this type of structure and just this type of DNA spread in between, like in the center of the cell, and there is no membrane bound nucleus. If no membrane bound nucleus, it means other membrane bound organelles are also not present, for example mitochondria and chloroplast, etc. So nucleus is only present in eukaryotic cells. So eukaryotic cells are unicellular as well as multicellular also. So they are present in animal cell in the center of the cell. You can see this is animal cell and this is a rounded one. But not only the rounded one, there are different shapes of animal cells. So they are present in the center of the animal cell. If you see here, in the center of the animal cell. And all the organelles are just scattered around the nucleus. This one a plant cell, and if you see the location of plant cell here, you can see that in plant cell that nucleus is present at the side of the cell, at the side of the cell at corner, but that is present in the mature plant cells. When the plant cells are growing, like there is a plantlet, or when the seed is growing, it becomes a very small plant. So it is having in the center, nucleus is in the center, and in mature and higher plants, that is at the site. The reason is that there is a large vacuole. You can see this vacuole. Sometimes the vacuole is so large like this. So vacuole is present, a large vacuole, one large vacuole is present in plant cell, that it pushes the nucleus at a side. In younger plants, not one vacuole is present, but there are lots of small vacuoles are present in the cytoplasm. That's why the nucleus is in the center of younger plants cell. But when the plants get mature day by day, so those all vacuoles just get together and they form a larger vacuole. It pushes the nucleus at a side. If we see nucleus and its structure deeply, so we can see that nucleus is, because it is membrane bounded, so it must have a membrane outside that. That membrane is called nuclear envelope or nuclear membrane. Like you can see here, nuclear envelope or nuclear membrane. So it is composed of outer nuclear membrane and inner nuclear membrane. That is the boundary, and inner nuclear membrane is having a fluid-like substance in that is called nucleoplasm or nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm is the fluid in which there are some substances or some other organelles are present in the nucleus. Like the cytoplasm of the cell, nucleus is also having its own plasm that is called nucleoplasm. So this nucleus, its outer nuclear membrane is having certain nuclear pores. These nuclear pores are very small holes which enable the nucleus to act as semi-permeable membrane. So these pores are called nuclear pores, and they make the nuclear membrane as semi-permeable membrane. We have talked about before what is semi-permeable membrane, like plasma membrane or cell membrane is also semi-permeable membrane. Semi means half and permeable means allow. So it allows some of the or half of the materials or some of the materials to pass in the nucleus, inside the nucleus, and some pass out of the nucleus. Another very important structure is present in the nucleus that is called nucleolus. Like, look, this is a cell and this is nucleus, and you can see here a big structure, dark spot like structure. This is called nucleolus. This is nucleus. You can see properly the nuclear pores around out of this nuclear membrane, and inside there is nucleolus. That nucleolus just seem to be dark, and it is sometimes one or sometimes two. And what is the function actually of the nucleolus? It is the site, it is a place where ribosomal RNA are formed and assembled as ribosomes. Ribosomal RNA are formed and assembled as ribosomes. RNA means ribonucleic acid. Like your what we say, your chromosomes in the nucleus, that is made up of DNA. From that is called deoxyribonucleic acid. We'll talk about this DNA in chapter number 5 also, inshallah, where we see cell division. But right now, just you must have just a brief concept of that DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid is present in the nucleus, which is just transformed or changed into chromosomes. And this DNA, when it is needed, it is um, transcribed into RNA. RNA means ribosomal or ribonucleic acid. R for ribo and for nucleic, A for acid. So nucleolus form ribosomal RNA, ribosomal RNA. What does it do? It when it assembles, so it forms ribosomes. It forms ribosomes. Ribosomes are another, we can say, the cell organelle. We will talk about in the next slides. What is the function and what is the structure of ribosomes? So nucleolus is very, very important part or organelle of the cell, which is present in the nucleus, and its function is to form ribosomes. Okay, now we will see that nucleus is not only having nucleolus, its membranes, a nuclear membrane, nuclear pore, nucleoplasm, very important structure indeed it is having inside that is chromosomes. Chromosomes, chromosomes, it comes from the word chroma, yeah, or chrome, or somes means body. Chrome means color. So these are actually first color bodies which the scientists have seen in the under the microscopes. So chromo means colored and some means body. So these are the colored bodies which are seen by the scientists under the microscope, and they are visible only while during interphase stage. What is interphase stage? Don't take it hard to your mind, because we will study deeply about interphase and cell division. Interphase, phase means the stage, inter means between. So this is the stage between two divisions of the cell, because the cell divides. As a cell theory says that the third postulate, the cell arises from the pre-existing cells. It means the cells which are present before, they divide and make the new cells. So the cell, when it divides, first nucleus divides. When nucleus divides, before it prepares itself, the cell prepares itself for division. That division is called mitosis. So before mitosis or before division, cell undergoes into interphase stage. Interphase stage, that is called non-dividing phase, and this is the longest phase of the cell life cycle. And in that, the cell does not divide, but it prepares itself for the division. So when the chromosomes come in this interphase stage, look, you can see these are lots of chromosomes, and they are said to be chromatin before, but these are thread-like structures. But in interphase, they start to become like chromosomes, like this type of structure. Like they twist together, they make compact bodies, and they are visible during interphase because they get thickened and they get twisted more, turned around, and they got the shorter structures. These are called chromosomes. Before they are these thread-like structures, these are called chromatin material. And this chromatin material, while interphase, they form chromatin, and when they are going to divide, then they change into chromosome structure. So chromosomes are composed of deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA and proteins. So this is thread-like structure. When it is twisted around, this form this type of this chromosome. This is composed of two things. One is DNA, that is called deoxyribonucleic acid, and other is proteins. So the proteins are present like a rounded bodies, and this DNA just twisted around this protein. So proteins, like we are having tasbih or counter tasbih, like which we say are like subhanallah, or like the names of Allah after the prayer. So that like, so it looks like the beads in the string. So that is the DNA which is present in every cell in the nucleus or in nucleus of every cell of our body, except one cell. Which one is that? That is red blood cells, because red blood cells don't have nucleus, so they don't have DNA. Okay, so we will talk about these RBCs, red blood cells, in our chapter number, that is the last chapter of our of this book, that is chapter number 9, inshallah. So don't worry about that inshallah we will just talk about them also. So chromosomes, actually the hereditary material, and this hereditary material just transfer the characters of one generation to another generation, from the parents to offspring. Like we, how the same we are or we resemble to our parents, that depends on the chromosomes, what type of sequence of the material or DNA is present in these thread-like structures. They actually having the characteristics, like something which is present here, that is called genes there. So they are having some sort of characteristics, like for example, we are having hair color, eye color, green or blue or black or brown, or like height or our intelligence, our foot size, and lots of other characters. We have resemblance with our parents or not. So these are transferred by these chromosomes. Now we'll see another very, very important organelle of the cell, that is called ribosomes. Ribosomes are actually the dotted like structures which are present in the cell, granular structure, tiny granular structures which are present in the cytoplasm of the cell. Some they either are freely floating or they bound to endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum is said to be ER. In the next slide, inshallah, we will talk about endoplasmic reticulum as well. What is that? So they are these ribosomes, like it doesn't seem like this, the dotted like structure, but actually when they we talk about their structure, so they are exactly like this. They are actually the RNA, ribosomal RNA, which we have talked about, which are formed in the nucleolus. So those ribosomal RNA comes out of the nucleus through nuclear pore into the cytoplasm, and they are just thread-like structure. But when they are in need of its function, so it just gathers around like this, and they form two subunits. One is smaller subunit and other is larger subunit. So that is formed by ribosomal RNA and proteins. Like chromosomes are formed by DNA and proteins, so ribosomes are formed by ribosomal RNA and proteins. So these ribosomes are not bound by any of the membranes. So they are present in eukaryotic as well as in prokaryotic cells, because in prokaryotic cells no membrane bound organelle is present. So they are not membrane bound, there is no membrane is there, but just the ribosomal RNA twisted around the protein, and just they twisted around and form the globular structure, and they form their structure like this. One is larger subunit and other is smaller subunit. So this is, you can see the larger subunit and the smaller subunit. This ribosome is very, very important indeed. Why? Because that is the site, that is the place where protein is synthesized. So its very important function is protein synthesis. Protein synthesis, like how the protein is formed. We get protein from the meat, from meat, different type of meats like fish, chicken, and other meats, also beef and like mutton. But some proteins are very, very important and required in our body, which has to be prepared in our body itself. So these proteins are we can say that every function of our body is controlled by the protein. Whether there is immune system, like we are having antibodies, which antibodies are formed in response of vaccines, which we um, like which we apply or inject in our body against any, before any disease in our body. Proteins are the hormones, proteins are the enzymes which make which catalyze or which perform any type of function, like photosynthesis, like respiration. Enzymes do those processes. So enzymes are also protein. Hormones, which control our body functions, those are hormones. These are also the chemicals, so they are also proteins, as well as antibodies are also proteins, antigens are also proteins. We have studied fluid mosaic model. In that, you have seen that in fluid mosaic model, cell membrane is embedded with different type of proteins which act as the gates, or the carriers of some molecules from outside to inside, inside to outside. So those proteins are also required. They are structural also. They form our hair, they form our nail, they form our body, whole body systems. So our whole body system depends on especially proteins. So proteins are not only required from outside, but they are formed, or they are synthesized in our body as well. So that protein synthesis is done by the help of ribosomes. Ribosomes, this is freely floating ribosome. But some ribosomes are just attached with the endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum is the connection of cytoplasm with the cell membrane, and like the channels that they act as the road into the cell. So we'll talk about in the next few slides. Okay, so protein synthesis is extremely important to cells, and so large a number of ribosomes are found throughout the cells. So there are lots of ribosomes freely floating, as well as which are attached on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. All do protein synthesis. So when a ribosome is not working, like here it is in working condition because it is in the protein synthesis process. So it is assembled like larger and smaller subunit. But when it is not in function, so it disassembles and spread in the thread-like structure into the cytoplasm. Okay, so there is one more cell organelle which is very, very important indeed. That is mitochondria. Mitochondria. Mitochondria is, you can see the disc-like structures present in the cell, and they are having the shape like this. So its location, that they are found in eukaryotes only, like the cells which are having nucleus, because they are also membrane bound, so they are not present in prokaryotic cells. Let's talk about its structure. Its structure is mitochondria singular, chondria plural, mitochondrion is singular. It is having double membrane. One is outer and one is inner. If you see the outer one is smooth, that is called outer membrane. And what does it function? It is permeable to certain ions and smaller molecules. Definitely it looks like the cell plasma membrane or cell membrane. So it allows some of the material. It's also semi-permeable membrane. And the next one is inner membrane. Inner membrane is folded many times. It's folded around like this, and it is folding, actually not the twisting, folding, and this is called inner membrane. That is very, very important. Like this folding is very important because it increases the surface area for its function. Which function we'll talk about right now. So that inner membrane has to be folded out. Okay, so in between the outer membrane, this one, and inner membrane, there is a space that is called intermembrane space. And it is like the cytosol. Cytosol means cytoplasm. So it is having the fluid which is equal to the cytoplasm. And if you see this one, it is also having a fluid that is called matrix. Okay. Inner membrane is having very important function, and that does respiration. Respiratory chain, because this inner membrane is having some proteins. Those proteins or those enzymes which are important for respiration are placed naturally on this inner membrane. That's why that inner membrane is folded a lots of time, because there it can increase the surface area for the respiration. This folded membrane is called cristae. So we have seen its structure, that outer membrane of mitochondria is smooth, inner membrane is having some foldings, and that is called cristae and singular crista. And it is having the inner mitochondrial matrix, this one. It serves to increase the surface area of inner membrane on which membrane bounded reactions can take place, for example, respiration. Very important regarding mitochondria, that it is having its own DNA and own ribosomes. If we talk about one cell, for example, this is animal cell, this is having nucleus, it is having chromosomes, means DNA, and it is having here ribosomes. And if we talk about mitochondria, it is present like this in the cell. So this cell is having its DNA in the nucleus and its ribosomes. There is one structure, there are other structures also which are having specifically their own DNA and own ribosomes, and that DNA and ribosomes function for just this structure, that is mitochondria, as well as in plant cell chloroplast, and here in animal cell and plant cell mitochondria. These two structures are having their own DNA, self DNA in the present in the matrix. You can see here the pink, this thread like structure, this is DNA that also divides in the cell when there is more respiratory process, for example during exercise, for example in the brain, where more energy is required. So in the respiration, energy is formed from our food. So when there is a process of energy production, so the this mitochondria divides. And here these ribosomes, the yellowish one, these are ribosomes are present. So these ribosomes also do protein synthesis for this mitochondria, because mitochondria, while do respiration, it also needs some energy in the form of ATP. So those mitochondria do protein synthesis also, because it needs enzymes also to perform the function. So enzymes are also protein. So here you can see the structure of mitochondria. This is inner membrane. And this is called cristae, like it appears in the microscope like this. So its function is aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means the respiration in the presence of oxygen. Aerobic, like in the presence of air, and air means oxygen. So there are some aerobic organisms and some anaerobic organisms. If we just write N, A-N-N, aerobic, so it means those organisms which don't use oxygen for their respiration, for example, bacteria. So those are called anaerobic respiration, but human beings are aerobic respiration, and lots of all organisms are aerobic respiration. They do aerobic respiration. So in mitochondria, it needs what? Oxygen to do respiration. And in the respiration, what is happened? Energy production is done. So that is called the major energy production centers, or mitochondria are called, we can say, they are called the powerhouses of the cell. Power means energy. So the houses which produces energy for the cell. So ribosomes of mitochondria are more similar to the bacterial ribosomes than to eukaryotic ribosomes. It is also having its ribosomes. So it resembles with the bacteria because they are very, very small as compared to the ribosomes which are present in the cell. So their size is same as the size of bacterial ribosomes. So dear students, that's it for today. We have discussed today nucleus, very important indeed because it is having chromosomes that is used for inheritance and transfer the characters from parents to offspring. Then we have seen ribosomes. Ribosomes function is protein synthesis, which are definitely, we can say, they are, they do every function of our body, while in whether they are enzymes, hormones, antibodies, and lots of other things. And next we have studied about mitochondria. Like mitochondria is for the production of energy while doing respiration. So I hope you found this lecture very, very interesting and informative as well. We will do inshallah exercise also. I'll share in the group inshallah. And if you have a question regarding this whole lecture, you can ask me in Zoom meeting. Inshallah, we'll see you in Zoom meeting, and then we'll continue this chapter in the next lecture. Wish you all the best. Allah Hafiz.